Easy Explain Creative Evolution by Henri Bergson, Chapter 4, Real Becoming, Part 2, Demonstrations, the big finale, when we connect it back to everything. So let's start with the ancient Greeks, looking at form and idea as Sisyphean concepts, actually, for Bergson here. So he says that the sensible forms are before us, ever about to recover their ideality, ever prevented by the matter they bear in them, that is to say, by their inner void, by the interval between what they are and what they ought to be. They are forever on the point of recovering themselves, forever occupied in losing themselves. An inflexible law condemns them, like the rock of Sisyphus, to fall back when they are almost touching the summit. And this law, which has projected them into space and time, is nothing other than the very constancy of their original insufficiency. So again, looking at Bergson's concepts of form and idea and how they're very much so procedural, right? Procedural. They are balancing, going in and out of the very essence of reality as nothingness, as void, and being created and put into different changing forms of matter through the elan vital and its intelligence. And this is an ever-going process, almost Sisyphean, right? We're going to push that rock all the way up the hill. It's just going to roll back down the hill for eternity. It's just ongoing. We can also consider this in terms of Plato, Aristotle, and Plotinus, some other ancient Greek philosophers, where Bergson says that the affirmation of a reality implies the simultaneous affirmation of all the degrees of reality intermediate between it and nothing. Right? So we have this, an infinity of infinities, right, is all within reality. You can have different values of truth values, different morals, different forms of matter, different degrees of intelligence and creativity and evolution. Just the varieties here are endless, right? They're eternal. And I think this resonates with some ideas from Plato and Aristotle and Plotinus as well. To jump ahead to the more modern idea of space-time, Bergson here says the duration of the universe must therefore be one with the latitude of creation which can find place in it. Time is invention, or it is nothing at all. So thinking about time as a force that endures, right? Time as duration, that is something we're inventing. As human intelligences, we are creating that. We create it as we experience it through the past, the present, and the future. Through the flow and flux of time, it is continually invented by us. Moving to the Continental Rationalists, Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz, we will never escape them. So for both Spinoza and Leibniz, specifically, more so than Descartes, reality as well as truth are integrally given in eternity. Both are opposed to the idea of a reality that creates itself gradually, that is, at bottom, to an absolute duration. So, right, this is a very rationalist idea if you go back to Spinoza's metaphysical worldview, the Leibnizian worldview. This is the best of all possible worlds. Right, they would be against this idea that reality is continually and gradually creating itself. They would definitely lean more towards this absolute duration. It's, we're just kind of a part of it. Not so much the Jamesian pragmatic perspective of, humans are creating it as we go along. So let's look at flux and flow here for Bergson. Big concepts for him coming out at the end. One last time. He says that the philosopher must go further than the scientist, making a clean sweep of everything that is only an imaginative symbol. He will see the material world melt back into a simple flux, a continuity of flowing, a becoming, and he will thus be prepared to discover real duration, there where it is still more useful to find it, in the realm of life and of consciousness. So definitely getting a little more, waxing a little more poetic, a little more poetical. But I do think it does a good job of tying in a lot of big themes, all kind of together here for Bergson towards the end. Looking at flux, looking at continuity, flowing, becoming, reality, duration, consciousness. Maybe it's put in a more poetic way, but I think it's very much so on theme for Bergson. It sums them up well. So let's turn the mind homeward. Let's wrap this up. So Bergson says, philosophy is not only the turning of the mind homeward, which I just think is a great phrase, the coincidence of human consciousness with the living principle whence it emanates, a contact with the creative effort. What is philosophy? It is the study of becoming in general. It is true evolutionism and consequently the true continuation of science. It's got to go deeper than science, right? It's got to go farther than science. provided that we understand by this word a set of truths either experienced or demonstrated, which has been a big part of Bergson's project here. Leave it to you to judge and decide and evaluate if he succeeded. But regardless of what Bergson has set out to do, I do think a value of creative evolution is giving us a new metaphysical, pragmatic structure and framework to really think about life in a new way. Consider it maybe some really deep questions too that don't necessarily involve or require religious beliefs and ideals either. So that sums up chapter 4, looking at some demonstrations, comparing it to some other very large schools and systems of philosophy. So for now, hope this helps.